Do you wait for everything to be perfect and lined up straight before you make a choice? How hard are you trying to get everything in your life right? What if jumping in and getting messy is one of the ways to find out what works for you? Discover how being willing to mess up can create the phenomenal life you truly desire. Get ready to quit judging and start embracing all of your messy adventures. Now, here's your host, self-declared messy living expert, Katrina Fava.
Hello, and welcome to Messy Adventures in Living. I am your host, Katrina Fava. Thank you for joining us today, wherever you are, whenever you are in the world. It is awesome to have you here. So grateful that you are listening and joining and playing with us today. If this is your first time listening to Messy Adventures in Living and you're wondering what this is all about and what I'm all about, here's a little blurb about me and the show. So Messy Adventures in Living was created from a place of, how should we say, almost me kind of making light of myself and not taking myself so seriously, because I have been known to wait until things are perfect in my life, and hence causing quite a mess. So therefore, the show Messy Adventures in Living was created. So this show is really about getting messy with your life and not waiting for everything to be perfect and lined up straight before you get started, not waiting for all your ducks to be in a row, not waiting to know all the answers beforehand. It's really about looking at all the places in your life where you can just jump in and get messy and choose, and then get awarenesses as you choose, and then choose again, and then choose again, and then choose again, and that's how we can enjoy living rather than just kind of muddling through life, locked into these conclusions that we think we have to live by. I am a person who likes to have my hands in a whole bunch of things all at the same time. So here's a few of the things I like to play in my life. I'm a mom of 3 very cool kids. They are 12 and 9 and 6. And I am also a pediatric nurse, a registered nurse here in Toronto. I have been working with children at our pediatric hospital for almost 19 years now. And I am also an author. I have written in 3 books. One of them is Creations, Conscious Fertility, Conception, Pregnancy, and Birth. And the other book that I have contributed to is called Possibilities in Parenting. Great book with a ton of amazing tools. And my latest book that I have contributed a chapter in is called The Power of Releasing Judgment. You can find all of those on Amazon.com. I also like to play in my kitchen, but not cooking. I like to create handmade, 100% natural bath and body products, and my line of products is called Naturally Happy Body. And if you're interested in checking some of those out, you can take a look at naturallyhappybody.com. I am also an Access Consciousness bars and body process facilitator. I was introduced to these wacky, weird, and very cool tools of Access Consciousness about 6 years ago, and I have been playing with them and using them in my life to create greater and to have more ease in my life. And I love talking about them, and I love sharing them because I think they're awesome and cool and really easy. And so we might mention them on the show. If you have questions about what Access Consciousness is, please check it out at accessconsciousness.com. There's more, but I'm going to stop there. If you would like to know more about me, please visit katrinafava.com. You can find me on Facebook. You can find Messy Adventures in Living on Facebook as well. I am all over social media. So what are we talking about today, guys? What are we talking about today? Well, today's show is kind of cool. It is called Hating. It's so high school. So high school. Hating. It's so high school with my guest, Jenny G. Perry. And so, are you still catfighting with other women? Are you jealous, competing, just overall hating? Well, what's the deal? And how much are you cutting out of your life by holding all of this in place? Well, guess what? Something else is really possible, and it could be the key to receiving more of everything in your life. So thanks for joining me and my guest, Jenny G. Perry, as we talk about what could change for you if you were willing to end the cat fights, like really end them once and for all. Are you ready to stop acting like a teenage drama queen? If so, get ready because we're going to blast this out of the water today. So my guest today is an awesome woman. Her name is Jenny G. Perry. Hi, Jenny. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that we have no more snafus. Technology is just hilarious sometimes. You plan everything, and then all of a sudden, you don't have Wi-Fi, and then the kids are doing something, and you're like, oh my goodness. But I'm so excited to play.
Yes, I'm excited too. And you know what? This show is called Messy Adventures in Living, and we get messy on this radio show all the time. So it's really okay. So I'm going to introduce you, Jenny. So Jenny G. Perry is a #1 best-selling author of a very cool book called Sexpot with Stretch Marks, and also a novel called The Jennifers. She's a feisty, married mother of 5, happily residing at the Jersey Shore. She's a transformation coach who weaves her intuitive mind-body-spirit style into her no-nonsense, practical approach. She loves to blog on social media about her life's journey in a fun and spiritual way. She has a passion for life, fashion, and a bold voice which preaches self-love daily. She's a speaker who tells of her own reinvention and cheers on others to pursue their dreams. She's been a featured blogger on HuffingtonPost.com, ElephantJournal.com, and BeliefNet.com. She was also in the May 2014 issue of Oprah magazine. She's featured on the cover of www.expandedfamily1wordpress.com, and one of her blogs was also featured on Cosmopolitan.com and GoodHousekeeping.com. She's given author talks for her novel, The Jennifers, where she not only talks about life, but also her journey of self-loathing to loving. She's done workshops on finding your joy and also tips on self-publishing. She spoke at the Steps event about reinventing yourself, calling herself a silly, sassy, spiritual sexbot. She aims to uplift, empower, and inspire daily. You can find her blog at jennygperry.com. You got a lot going on, Jenny G. That's awesome. I love it.
You know what? I was a stay-at-home mom for years and tried to go that route, and there are some people that are just meant to have a lot of balls in the air, and I'm just that type of person, and it makes me less of that kind of mom that I was, but way more fulfilled, and that's what kids want anyway.
Yeah, me too. I love it, and I really actually thrive with having a lot of balls in the air completely. It's fun, and I actually feel like it keeps me going. It fuels me. The multiple things on the go really fuels me. It's fun. All right, should we talk about hating or not hating? So hating is so high school. It's so high school, and so tell us a little bit about what do you know about this, and what have you discovered about this topic? I want to ask you where does it all start? But I have 2 daughters, and you do too, and I really wanted to talk about how I noticed so early this interesting energy between little girls already, in preschool. And so what can you tell us about where this starts and how this starts and why we do this shit?
Well, I think that as moms, we have to be really mindful of what we're doing, because our daughters are watching everything that we're doing. And I wanted to touch upon a few things and then switch it around to the positivity, because what I see is that you have, I was cyberbullied a few months ago by going into a group about planning, planners. And I didn't realize the energy of the group, and I did not read the room beforehand. I was just in Jenny World, so I was la la la, everyone loves me, and everyone's a love muffin. in my world. And all the online entrepreneurial groups that I'm in and you're in, everybody's all like positive. So they attacked me and then hopped over onto my page. And I was like, what? I'm like, people actually do this stuff. And like, even the next day, the women were still commenting. And I'm like, dude, get over me. Like, what are you doing? Why am I even on your radar today? And so I know that I triggered something within them. So if you are in the hating space, you've been triggered. And that's a gift.
You've stirred up some shit.
Oh, I am a shit star for sure.
Yeah, but I love it, and it's awesome. And like, I wonder if part of that is what it is. Like, is it that people, do they want to stay comfortable? Like, do they not want their buttons pushed, and so they reject what it is that you're offering, even if it's something that is enlightening or empowering?
Well, I think it's a vibe thing. Like, I remember when I first started reading about law of attraction, like 10 years ago, I was like, I think it was almost 10 years ago, I remember thinking, if I change, like, I know that my friendships are going to change. And I was really, like, worried. I'm like, I don't want to lose all my friends. And I started changing gradually. And some of my old friends that I've had since high school or college, like, our friendships just changed. They didn't go away. And the friendships that I had that were mommy friends, like acquaintances, they completely, those women shut me out of their life. And I'm in the same town, so it's very weird sometimes because it's that, my inner dork can come up as confident as I am, where it's just kind of like, I'm like, do we say hi? Because we used to, like, hang out and we used to, like, go to each other's houses. And, like, now we have to act like we don't know each other. Like, it can be high school. And you're like, I'm too grown for this. I don't get this. But not everybody is on that level. Our vibes don't match. We don't talk about the same things. So I know one specific woman talks about me to another person, and I'm like, I'm fascinated that I'm still on her radar and why she feels like she needs to talk about me. But I know that I trigger something in her because I've changed. And when you change, you rattle the cage of the people that are afraid that they can't change.
Ah, I like that. Can you say that again? When you change, you rattle the cage of the
those
people
who are afraid they can't change. Yeah, the ones who are afraid they can't
those
change.
who are afraid they can't change. Yeah, I really love that. So yeah, what a gift it can be, right? I think somebody just said that in the chat room, the gift of being triggered. Awesome. How does it get better than that? So what kinds of things, so, there's this, today my son came home and said, my kids go to Catholic school, and said that they've taught him that at this school, you have to like everyone. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. And so I said, Matthew, like, is it true that you have to like everyone? Or, is it that you need to be kind to everyone? So, like, can we talk a little bit about the fact that sometimes we just don't vibe, like you said, with another person? You don't have things in common. You don't want to talk about the same things. How is that different than, and how can you be in a space of, like, allowance and, hey, that's cool and that's just what you're choosing, versus going into judgment and, like, gossiping? And, what are some tools for people to keep them in this space of, just allowance for what other people are choosing?
Well, I think it's super important to be authentic. That's a big thing to me. But you can be kind without actually having to be best friends with everybody. I know, I instantly know when someone doesn't like me because I can energetically read it, and then I will play the game and just be like, hi, how you doing? But I'm not going to kiss their butt. And also, we have to remember, we live in this reality that it's like the buffet, and there are jerks in the world, and you don't have to, like, you can love them in a soul way, but you don't have to hang out with them. You don't. So I think you should be respectful and kind towards people, but you definitely don't have to like everybody. But you don't have to be a jerk about it.
Right. You don't have to like anybody, but you don't have to be a jerk about it. There you go. Awesome. Guess what? It's already time for a break. How did that happen? So we're going to take a quick break, and then we are going to come back and continue our conversation with Jenny G. Perry. You're listening to Messy Adventures in Living with myself, your host, Petrina Fava. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon.
Do you wait until all the traffic lights are green before you get in your car? Of course you don't. Are you waiting until you have everything perfect to begin living? Most of us have learned not to take any steps until we have all the information to make the right choice. What if the opposite is true? What if it's choice that creates awareness? Are you willing to make lots of messy choices so you can begin to see the possibilities that you didn't even think existed? Listen for Messy Adventures in Living radio show with self-declared messy living expert Katrina Fava every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific on A2Zen.fm. How much more expansive would your life be if you were willing to get messy with your choices?
What if there's nothing wrong with you? What if you're far greater than you've ever given yourself credit for? What if it's time to know the gift and the contribution you are to the world and to like yourself a lot more? Hi, my name is Dane here. 13 years ago, I started to truly ask questions. Actually, I started to be the question, and everything changed for me. Asking questions opens doors to infinite possibilities. And it's not about finding the answer. It's about being the question. Always. What I'm inviting you to step into is something that Einstein, Marie Curie, Newton, Da Vinci, Gandhi, Picasso, and Aristotle all knew to be true. What if no question is too big or too small? What if anything is possible for you? What if together we could create a kinder, gentler, happier world? Is now the time? Go to beingyouclass.com and sign up for a free video series, My Gift to You. beingyouclass.com. What if you, truly being you, are the gift and change this world requires? beingyouclass.com.
You're listening to Messy Adventures in Living with Katrina Fava. To participate in today's show, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 033-0001-0625. Or you can Skype us at A2Zen.fm. You can also ask questions or comment by email by sending to Katrina at katrinafava.com. Now, here's Katrina with more Messy Adventures.
Welcome back to Messy Adventures in Living. I'm your host, Katrina Fava, and today's topic is hating. That's like so high school. So we're talking to our guest today, Jenny G. Perry, who is a best-selling author and a woman who loves to go out there and empower women and talk about friendships and, friendships and loving each other and empowering each other instead of hating on each other and being jealous and all that stuff that's contractive and heavy and blah. So before we went to break, we were talking about the fact that you don't have to like everyone. You don't have to be friends with everyone, but you can be kind to people. So do you want to talk a little bit about friendship, Jenny, and what does friendship look like for you? I feel like sometimes we grow up with a little bit of a messed up idea of what friendship is supposed to be. My daughters are 12 and 9, and my 12-year-old right now, like this year, she's in 6th grade, and the drama, and it's all around friendship, and if you were my friend, you wouldn't do this, and if you're my friend, you have to do this. And so I think that she's at a place where she's really trying to define what friendships mean, and her friends are kind of imposing this idea of what friendship is supposed to be. So what's friendship? What is friendship for you now that you are not in high school anymore?
I love that. Well,
yeah.
I wanted to point out that when you get to this evolved place that I am, I'm totally kidding. I don't like to be like that where you're like, I've ascended and but just because as life coach I still have my shit going on, that's you're a being, and anybody who if you go to a coach and they are like, I have ascended to a new realm and I will bring you along, run the other way. Run. Everyone has their stuff, everyone's up leveling, even Oprah's up leveling. You're always up leveling to a new financial place, to a new deepening of relationships. That's growth. The universe is expansive. But conscious friendships look like this. So today I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I kid you not, I'm not kidding you. A few different people were on TV. These are my friends my online friends that are my real friends, And I'm like, there's a part of me that I'm like, oh my God, like I can't believe that there's like 3 of them right in a row that are on just different TV things. Like, I'm like, that's wild. But what I feel is that like, oh, I can't wait for that to be me. And I'm like, because you're seeing it is you. It is leading you in that direction, because I do believe in the law of attraction. I do believe in energy. But if I was not believing in myself, or if I didn't live in an expansive universe, I would feel like they took some of my pie, some of the pie that there is in the world.
Okay.
So being a conscious friend means that like I allow people to be, how they are, and I want the same for them as I want for myself. But does that mean that everything's always going to be hunky-dory? No. Like, sometimes you have to say, like, listen, my feelings were hurt with this. But before you speak, you have to realize, what is my intention here? Because if you can come from a place of, like, this is an example. You could be like, hey, babe, like, I was really triggered by this. Like, and you mirror, you show the mirror, you show where you were triggered, you own your stuff. You don't say, listen, you did this to me, you hurt my feelings, because that's an attacking energy, and you're trying to manipulate, and you're trying to make them feel bad. That's what you're seeing with the teenage girls. They're manipulating energy. So you're pulling at people energetically, or you're pushing at people energetically, so you're being pushy with your agenda, or you're pulling at them and draining them by being like a victim, or, just trying, they have to be on your side or else they're not your friend. That's not
right.
That's not good. You're allowed to have boundaries. Everyone's allowed to like who they like and experience people in a different way than you do. So, I mean, I think it's for them, it's so much of it. We know that we have, a vessel in ourselves of self-love. And when our cup runs over, it spills out on everybody like a chocolate fountain, and everyone's happy. But when you're younger, it's always like half full and gets, oh, that boy doesn't like me. Oh, that person didn't text me back. So their thing is getting depleted all the time. And they have this false idea that how they can fill it up is by they trash other people, and then it elevates them vibrationally. It actually does, because they go from this desperate place to this kind of vengeful place and higher on up the vibrational scale, which sounds silly on how being in a vengeful place would be a higher vibration, but desperation and having no hope, that's lower. So they're just trying to get themselves feeling better. So they're like, well, I'm better than her, and they can flow to a place of, no, we can both be good. We can both be good. But below, I'm better than her, is I'm crap and everyone's better. So you see what I mean? Like, I see it on the vibrational scale. So they're just trying to get their way to feeling good about themselves. They're just going the wrong way. And they got to find that out themselves.
Yeah, and I think you learn, and I mean, I see it with my daughter, but I remember it with myself too. You learn that there's something cool about hating on other people, or there's something cool about being mean or being rude, and like I literally have this conversation with my 12-year-old all the time, and that's kind of what you're saying. Like, it's what's underneath that is this sense of hopelessness or desperation, or like just trying to elevate yourself higher, but it's being done in a very like twisted way that's really unkind to other people and ultimately unkind to yourself too, right? Yeah. Holy moly. There is a question in the chat room. Let me see if I can find it. Where did you go? Question. Aha. Where did you go? Oh, I don't know where the question went. Okay, well, I'll find it in a second. You are writing, you like to write about friendship. So,
I'm just looking at
yeah, do you see it?
I'm trying to see.
It's from Bitch Joe.
Well, I think what she's talking about in the chat is about she was such a good girl in high school. Even
yes,
people were
that's
mean
the one.
There it is. So this emerging bitch energy, I said bitch energy can be healthy for sure, inner fire. And I know for me, my journey was I didn't speak up when I really wanted to. And what happens is you have this resentment that builds in your body, becomes very toxic. So the bitch energy, I think of it as like a fierceness. Like, just imagine you're like Beyonce walking down the street, and it's like setting boundaries, not letting people walk all over you. It's actually a beautiful thing. And when I was growing up, there was this show Dynasty on. So I wanted to be like that, kind of like everyone was always like, you're so sensitive and get, toughen up and all this stuff. And it's like trying to tell me not to be short. And so I wanted to be like this Alexis Carrington from Dynasty, where she's just like this cold-hearted bitch that gets what she wants and she always wins and never loses. Or like Jackie Collins used to write about this character, Lucky Santangelo, and she had that energy. And I'm like, I don't know who you're kidding, because you're a kind person and your bitch can come out, but she's really not that terrible. And
Yes.
so I love writing about women that are strong, but that have that vulnerability, because to be that bitch, that Alexis Carrington, that's a false sense of strength, because it's at others' expense. But a real strong woman can say, like, listen, this is what I had going on. Isn't that insane? Like, I went through that. Like, I am so amazing. Or even when she's going through it, to be like, yeah, this is what's going on here, and this is how I'm feeling, and I'm okay with it. Like, I don't have to have it all figured out. Like, that to me is so beautiful. Being authentic, like, that is true, like, goddess energy. And I love writing about friendship in the way of the different dynamics on when things happen. Like, my novel, The Jennifers, I wrote about friendship. It was 6 different women named Jennifer, and they went by different nicknames, because I really know too many Jens. It's ridiculous. And everybody would I'd be like, I'm Jenny or Jennifer, and they would just be like, you're Jen P. And I'm like, I'm not Jen P. I'm like, I need to start calling myself Electra or something, like, just to be different. But with my new book, BS, it's got the same, it's a different story, but it's the same thing about, like, these friendships, and how friendships are so important in women's lives. Like, they get you through all of the problems with your kids. It can get you through marriage problems. It get you through life. Like, that's the juice in life, is friendship.
Mm. Yeah, totally. I mean, how much easier is it to talk to your girlfriends than it is, let's say, to talk to your guy friend or your boyfriend, and you know, how much could we create together if we could build each other up and empower each other and work together and create together, rather than do this jealousy / competition thing. Amazing. So let's see. I wanted to talk a little bit about kids and daughters and this energy. Again, I have to, you have to. And what do you know about this? Like, what has your experience been with this energy, this, like, competition type energy, or that there's a fierceness? Like, I don't know about you, but my oldest daughter, both of my daughters, they're quite fierce, and I like them that way, and I encourage them to be that way. And it doesn't make my life easy as a parent, right? But can you talk a little bit? What has that been like for you, and how is this similar? Like, what is this energy that goes on between moms and daughters?
Well, it's funny, because I have 5 kids, so 3 boys in between, and it's not just the girls. I thought it was just the girls. It's not the girls. It is definitely a power struggle of adolescence that starts at a certain. I'm even seeing my 9-year-old son start to get, like, sassy, where he'll, like, he'll be like, no, and I'm like, what do you mean? What's this no business? Like, what is this?
Right.
And the daughter dynamic is definitely different in the way that she is trying to pull away from you, just like a son would, in order to form their independence. But sometimes that for the mom, it's like this love-hate relationship that's a constant ebb and flow. I always joke that it's like you broke up with somebody, but you have to live with them, and you have to pay for everything for them. It's really crazy, because some days that's what you feel like, that they used to love you as little kids, and then they, like, kind of broke up with you. And we also have to remember that when we're raising kids to be independent thinkers, we have to see that they're going to do that with us too, which is very tricky.
No kidding. That's a show all by itself.
Yep.
We could talk for hours about that one. Hey, maybe that's a show in the making. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. So let's take a break, and we will continue on this wave when we get back. So you're listening to Messy Adventures in Living on A2Zen.fm with myself, your host, Petrina Fava, and my guest today, Jenny G. Perry. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Do you wait until all the traffic lights are green before you get in your car? Of course you don't. Are you waiting until you have everything perfect to begin living? Most of us have learned not to take any steps until we have all the information to make the right choice. What if the opposite is true? What if it's choice that creates awareness? Are you willing to make lots of messy choices so you can begin to see the possibilities that you didn't even think existed? Listen for Messy Adventures in Living radio show with self-declared messy living expert Petrina Fava every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific on A2Zen.fm. How much more expansive would your life be if you were willing to get messy with your choices?
Do you know a child who is frustrated and disruptive in class? Who struggles to connect? Who's bright but still not making the grade? Have you ever wished that there were a kinder, gentler way to support children with difficulties in school or at home? Many children find Access Bars is benefiting them greatly. A study is being conducted to document findings in an effort to assist kids everywhere with these life-changing benefits. Will you donate and help to assist kids thrive? Visit www.accessyourbrilliance.com to support our study. What else is possible for kids now more than ever?
You're listening to Messy Adventures in Living with Petrina Fava. To participate in today's show, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 033-0001-0625. Or you can Skype us at A2Zen.fm. You can also ask questions or comment by email by sending to Petrina at petrinafava.com. Now, here's Petrina with more Messy Adventures.
Welcome back to Messy Adventures in Living. You're listening to me, Petrina Fava, and with me today is my guest, Jenny G. Perry. We're talking about hating. It's so high school. And what else is possible with this? How can we create relationships with other women that are empowering and that are creative and that are generative instead of doing competition? So before we went to break, we were talking about daughters and children actually in general and this energy with them. And Jenny was about to tell us a story about kids and this energy, right?
Yes. Well, what's funny about the kids is that this the challenges that you're talking about with the kids, we have to laugh or else we'll cry, right? Sometimes that's just, I try to always, no matter what is going on, I always try to laugh. And so my kid, when my kids have struggled at times, I'm the last person they want to talk to, and they will go to my husband about it. And I'm like, I cannot believe that people, spend thousands of dollars to coach with me, and my own children are like, we need to talk to Dad. And I'm like, thanks, that's wonderful. And just case in point tonight, okay, so I'm working, and, I'm working online, and my husband cooks in this dinner, and it has, we're vegetarian, so it's this veggie chicken thing over pasta with spinach and garlic, okay? If I made this, okay, there would have been oh, this is so gross. Why do you have to feed us healthy stuff? He feeds it to him. I'm not even kidding you. This is my 6-year-old. He's like, you need to put this on the menu of where you work at, Dad. You need to open up a restaurant and serve this. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it's sometimes the mom is the unsung hero. She seriously, I figure we got to wait a little while. And then when our kids in their 30s, they're going to be like, you are the most amazing person in the world. And we'll be like, damn, it took you 30 years to get here. Because really the moms are amazing. They're the hub. They are the energy of the family. And if the mom isn't happy, chances are the kids are not happy, for sure. But I just had to share that because because with moms, it's really funny how the kids do not realize how much we do for them, and yet there's a balance now with the society about how much we are doing for them and wanting to raise independent children, which is which also kind of plays into when you talk about the cattiness with the girls. We really, it's easy to want to jump in and solve things for them because we don't want to see them in pain, but they have to also learn these lessons. And sometimes they're going to get trapped in something with a friendship where they're going to have a friendship breakup, and it's not going to be fun, but they are going to learn something from it. And if we jump in and helicopter mom and try to solve it all, they're not going to learn it.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's hard sometimes because you want to be like, come on, this is what I would have told my 12-year-old self. But we know that doesn't work, and we know that they're going to make their own choices, and then as they do that, they will get their own their own awareness, and they'll learn about what works and what doesn't totally. And you know what? I have that completely going on in my house, by the way. Absolutely 150%. That whatever, I'm not a great cook. Like, I'll just say right now, like, cooking is not one of my best talents. I make soap in the kitchen, not food. And so for sure my husband cooks better than I do, but honest to God, I can make something exactly the same way, and if they know I did it, they will not eat it. It's quite ridiculous. But it's an interesting energy of, like, same, you know, like, I'm a nurse, and they'll go to my husband, or, like, you know, like, I teach classes as well, and do some coaching as well, and it's almost like, I don't know, I think it's just their job to, like, almost resist and go in the opposite direction until they figure out what really works for them. It's cool. And you know what there's a quote by Pink. We're a little bit off topic, but it seems to fit. You know Pink, the singer Pink. There's a quote that she has that's like this meme floating around, and I can't say exactly what it is, but it's something to the effect of, I don't take what my daughter says or does personally. Right? She has, like, a little girl as well. And that, you know, when she was a little kid, all the rebellion that she did, her mom took it very personally. And, you know, she always says, I don't take anything that my daughter says to me or does personally, because I know that's just where she's at right now. And there's something about that really rings true for me. Because I think it's easy to get catty with your own daughters, right? Like, I see myself being pulled in to my 12-year-old's drama. But hey, like, they're making their choices, and what else is possible? So, okay. So what else?
Goodness. Yes, and you know what? This is the owning stuff. Mm-hmm. What I've experienced is that with my older daughter, like, she would be like on the honor roll and in this thing that was great, mm-hmm. and in the performance, like, you know, literally like one of the stars in, like, the place. And then I can't go into specifics about which other kid this is right now, but then when you have another kid who's not doing as well, and, you know, everyone's, like, on Facebook, and they're like, la, 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 and you're like, shut the F up. Like, that's how you're feeling in the moment, because you're just because you can't take on their good or their bad, because they are an independent person. And so don't judge the other moms. Even if their kid's doing great, be like, yeah, your kid did great. But don't focus when her kid's doing crappy. Don't look at her. Don't make assumptions. Don't think that she's not doing something right, because I remember when I was younger, I mean, you're totally making your own choices, and your parents are not in the equation. It has nothing to do with what they did or didn't do at all.
Right.
Like, yeah. And yes, we do have things that we, you know, like, there are some people that act out because they're parents, but I'm talking about you can raise two kids the same way and get two totally different results. So stop judging the other moms is my major point. But
yeah.
I wanted to talk about friendship breakup.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a friendship breakup?
Yes.
And have you ever had a friendship breakup as an adult?
As an adult, you know, I've had friendships fade. Let's just say I don't know if I've had a complete friendship breakup. No, but I have had friendships fade, or people kind of drift out of my life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This friendship breakup that I've had a few ones that faded away, like you said. But I had one where it was like I kept trying to keep the friendship going, and it was like clearly like I just felt like doors kept getting shut on me, and then like I stopped getting invited to like parties that a few of the girls were at. And if I was really truthful, the last time I hung out with them, it wasn't even that fun, because they are gossiping, they're talking about other people's kids, you know, all that stuff that is not good. But with this one specific girl, I had a really good time with her, and I thought we were better friends. But I've always been really a loyal person, and I have to take a look at reading the energy. Is that, like, is this something I'm willing to fight for? And I started to not be as loyal in the way that it took me forever to even break up with my hairdresser, the last hairdresser I had, even though she was not doing a good job, because I was like taught to just be loyal, and you can't be like that, because you dishonor yourself, then you're resentful, then they feel it anyway. But the breaking up of friendships is, I've blogged about that, and women have, messaged me about it, and how it can be really difficult, and it could be actually harder than a breakup with a partner. And actually, there's breakups that people have with their siblings, and it's very difficult. But one of the things, like, not with the siblings, but with a friendship breakup, I wanted to know so bad what was going on, because I went into rejection of myself. instead of like that our vibes didn't match. And what I realized is that if I stayed with that clique of women, I never would have even released my first novel, The Jennifers, because I would have been like, you can't go outside of the bounds of that clique because you all vibe together. And so you're not going to do something crazy. And yes, there are people that are part of a group and they're looked at as the crazy one or the wild one. I wasn't. I was just playing the housewife role. And so I couldn't make that jump until they left that. And also, if you really like, you need to dig and have this resolution where you need to find out why she doesn't want to be friends with you anymore, you really don't want to. And I would advise people not to pursue it, because honestly, do you really want to know that she thinks X, Y, and Z about you? No.
Right.
It would actually hurt you to know that. And you got to live in the not resolved place sometimes. Life doesn't always get wrapped up in a neat little bowl, though, like on TV shows that, you know, they had this resolved space. No, there's a lot of gray areas in life like that.
Mhm. Yeah. And knowing doesn't really change anything, right? Like, if you know and you examine why, does it really put you in a place to create a change anyways? Like, it just kind of rehashes all of the old stuff. I mean, you can just look at it and be like, okay, that's what she's choosing. What can I choose now, right? Like, that's just what she's choosing. Okay, well, does that work for me? Does that not work for me? You know, what's my next step? What's my next choice? Do I want this person in my life or not? Without judgment. It could be like, hey, it's just what she's choosing. Okay, cool. That doesn't work for me. I'm out. I thought you said something interesting, like about how women are really unwilling to break up their friendships. And I wonder how much that unwillingness to break up is actually what leads to drama, because it's almost this like, I don't want to just step up and show up and say what works for me or doesn't work for me, so I'm going to just back off and I'll just gossip about her over here and I'll just judge her over here. I wonder how much of that is actually our unwillingness to honor ourselves and be like, hey, you know what, this relationship doesn't work for me. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just easier to just kind of like go to the drama and be dramatic and cause drama and judge and gossip and criticize. What do you think about that?
That's so funny. I had a friend who I was online friends with, and she actually said that to me. She's like, I don't think we need to be friends anymore. So I was like, oh my God, like, it was the weirdest thing that ever happened to me, because it was so just honest from what she was feeling, and I wasn't going to fight for the friendship, but it was like, it hurt, and I was like, okay then. It was very strange, but yes, I agree. It's could you imagine if everybody just operated from that place, like being 100% truthful?
Yeah, because it's kinder, right? Like, it's more kind than gossiping and criticizing and doing competition and judging. It's kinder to just be like, hey, I really just don't want to be friends anymore. That's it.
But you know what? But what I was reading in that, in all honesty, is that there was other energy involved than that. And when you read energy, sometimes you can be like, okay, well, I think you don't like that I'm doing certain things.
Right.
Expanding beyond what you're doing, and that's what I was, getting from that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And this happens a lot in families. And we talk about, have you ever heard, you can't go beyond your raising? Like, you can't expand beyond, you can't have more money, or you can't create greater than your family. How much of that actually shows up in friendships, right? Between girlfriends. Like that energy of what you were talking about with the hanging out with a certain clique, where you feel like you can't, if you create greater, then they're going to be like, oh, you think you're so cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, that energy of you can't go beyond your raising. I wonder how much of that goes on in friendships as well.
Oh, wow. I'm sure that when I started becoming more vocal, they had a field day with all my selfies. And I mean, I took a pregnant beach pic in the snow with me in a bikini. I'm sure they went wild with that.
Oh, I remember those pics. I saw them all over Facebook, actually. They were amazing. They're very cool. Yeah, and what would it be like if we looked at each other and instead of being jealous, we could look at what our friends are creating and be like, cool, I would really like to have some of that, Look at what she's choosing. How can I get there? How could I choose that? Like, what could I create, rather than going to oh, she thinks she's so smart, because ultimately at the end of the day, what's underneath that, right? It's like what you've been talking about, how much self-loathing is actually underneath that. And if we knew how awesome we were, would we really feel threatened by someone who's creating greater? Like, could we actually be encouraged by that? And that's a lot about what you talk about, empowering each other, empowering women. It's like, how could we use our own creating greater, right? Like publishing, for you, it's been about like publishing books and speaking and becoming a coach, and like how much of that, just you being you and stepping up and being all of you, is actually opening up the space for other women to choose that too. I love it.
Juicy.
I love it. Okay, what's happening in the chat room? We're going to go to break, but let's see what's happening in the chat room. Yes, ties to the change thing that you touched on in the first segment. When we change, some friends can't be friends anymore. Yeah, and that's okay. And that is okay. The thing about what we conclude we can't change, we get bothered when others choose the change we wish we could make. Yes, it is huge. We get bothered when others choose the change we wish we could make. Well, what if you could look at that and be like, how can I have that too? I want to have some of that too. I love it. All right, we need to go to break. So, you're listening to Messy Adventures in Living. I am Patrina Fava, and my guest today is Jenny G. Perry. We're talking about getting out of high school hating and empowering each other as women. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Do you wait until all the traffic lights are green before you get in your car? Of course you don't. Are you waiting until you have everything perfect to begin living? Most of us have learned not to take any steps until we have all the information to make the right choice. What if the opposite is true? What if it's choice that creates awareness? Are you willing to make lots of messy choices so you can begin to see the possibilities that you didn't even think existed? Listen for Messy Adventures in Living radio show with self-declared messy living expert Patrina Fava. Every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific on A2Zen.fm. How much more expansive would your life be if you were willing to get messy with your choices?
What if you really do change molecules by your interaction with them? What if the change you've been looking for is right before your eyes? What if the uncomfortableness that comes with difference could be fun? What if the closed-minded people of the world no longer determined our world? What if gratitude trumps judgment every time? What if your kindness healed the world? What if the earth is asking for your help? And what if you had the resources to give it? This is your invitation to step into something that Einstein, Marie Curie, Picasso, Da Vinci, Shakespeare, Aristotle all knew to be true. Hi, my name is Dane here. 13 years ago, I started to truly ask questions. Actually, I started to be the question, and everything changed for me. What if there are no dumb questions, or any question too large? What if you being you are the gift and the change this world requires? Is now the time? For more questions to create a change in your world, sign up for a free video series at beingyouclass.com. My gift to you, beingyouclass.com.
You're listening to Messy Adventures in Living with Patrina Fava. To participate in today's show, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736. In the UK, 033-0001-0625. Or you can Skype us at a2zen.fm. You can also ask questions or comment by email by sending to Patrina at patrinafava.com. Now, here's Patrina with more messy adventures.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for hanging in there during the break. You're listening to Messy Adventures in Living with myself, Patrina Fava, on A2Zen.fm. Our guest today is Jenny G. Perry, and we are talking about getting out of hating, which is so high school, and moving into empowering each other instead. Before we went to break, we were just talking about how we could look at each other, and instead of getting jealous and getting bitchy and getting all up in arms and competing with each other, what if we could look at what our friends are creating, what our girlfriends are creating, and ask ourselves, how can I have some of that? And actually, Jenny, you mentioned in the chat room about that quote from the movie When Harry Met Sally, I'll have what she's having. So, what if instead of hating, we could look at what our friends are creating and ask, I'll have what she's having. Very cool. So I think you mentioned that you have a new book coming out. Is that right?
Yes. First, I wanted to just say that.
Yes. Go ahead.
One of the things that's super like when we do the inner work on ourselves, then like our outer world mirrors that. So I'm going to be talking on a podcast next week. If everyone wants to just follow me on social media, I can't have any friends, but you can follow my posts. If you just go to jennygperry.com, you can look at my author page or just even follow my profile because I post like all about my life. But about like how to have, 5 kids and look cute and have sex and be like a happy person because people are always like, I don't know how you do it. And I know that you know how energy works and it's like I choose joy, and even if messy stuff shows up, which obviously it's always showing up in my life, especially in Legos. It like rains Legos in here. But
oh gee. Let me see. Let me look around my living room. Yep, me too.
Yeah. And I'll just don't ever step on them. But so I just want everybody to come play with me, and I want to add value to their life because I do get high off of empowering other people, especially women. And so one of the themes, though, my book, I'm working on finishing it up. It's called BS. It's not going to be out just yet. But one of the themes in the book is about cheating. So here's where conscious friendships and maybe regular friendships change. What do you do in the scenario of you find out your friend is cheating on their husband? What do you do? This is one of the themes in the book.
Right. Cool. That sounds pretty cool. Awesome.
Yeah. And it's like, what do
amazing.
You do? Don't judge them, right?
Yeah, of course. Cool. All right, Jenny. Well, thanks for being here. We have about 4 minutes. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining us here on Messy Adventures. I love what you are creating in the world. I love that you are so fun and actually really vulnerable a lot of times. I've seen a lot of your posts and your videos on social media, and I love that you are so willing to get vulnerable and talk about your messy life all over social media. It's great. It really is very encouraging and really empowering. And who says that consciousness and spirituality has to be serious, right? We can have fun and we can be sexy and all of that stuff all rolled into one. So thanks for joining me today, and thank you to all of you for listening and joining us on the show. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what is coming up next week right here on Messy Adventures in Living, which is going to be July the 11th, the show July the 11th. And the title of the show is called Chameleons Are Not Inauthentic, They're Smart. And this show is really about the willingness to blend in when you want to, and how blending in can actually be a way to empower others in a way that's not so pushy. So a little bit of a weird, maybe a little even controversial subject. It's called Chameleons Are Not Inauthentic, They're Smart. So if you're interested in learning a little bit about how you can sneakily blend in while also being all of you and creating change, please join us next week right here on Messy Adventures in Living, Monday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're listening to this in the future, that show airs Monday, July the 11th. Well, we have a minute. Is there any last words you want to say, Jenny, to those out there about empowering each other? What do you want to say?
I just can't wait for that call. That call that you're doing, because I would always tell people I was an energy chameleon, and it was a bad thing.
Oh, cool.
I would lose myself, but I like that turnaround, that it can be used for good.
Yeah, I often have judged myself for doing that. For I think I judged myself for not being authentic. And I felt like I had to be all of me and all up in people's faces. And sometimes I think that may not be the greatest contribution. So I think it's going to be a fun call, looking at how we can blend in and still work our magic. So thanks again, Jenny. I had so much fun playing with you on the show, and I hope we can create more together in the future. Good luck on all your stuff coming up. And to all of you, thank you, and I'll see you next week right here on Messy Adventures in Living. Have fun!
Thanks for playing with us on Messy Adventures in Living. Katrina Fava will return next Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Mountain, and 6 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm. We'd love to have you join us again. Until then, have fun creating your phenomenal life, messed and